The most fundamental question we're all asking ourselves about AI, this new technology that everybody's talking about in our personal and our professional lives, is whether it is our friend or our foe. When analyzing this question, we have to look at it through a lens of our human history, work, and connectivity. Because we've done incredible things throughout history, and technology has played an incredible role in how all of that has changed and evolved over time. Human work and productivity has become a key part of what has molded our existence, beginning from survival all the way to productivity and wealth. If we take ourselves far, far back to Og and Grog, collecting berries from the bushes and carrying them to the caves. And then Steve rolled along with this new technology called a wheel that has fundamentally changed how we work, connect, and transport. And throughout these changes, many things have been affected by it. The wheel didn't invent work, but it transformed it. With the covered wagon, this nation has been able to expand westward to new territories, to new places, move entire families and livelihoods out into a completely new space that before was prohibitive to expand to. And the wheel didn't necessarily invent travel, but it removed limiting factors. And many of those technologies throughout history have removed those limiting factors that before the wheel, it was our feet. After that, now that the wheel existed, we could expand farther and farther. And we didn't stop there. After the wheel, the steam engine covered for something that before then, us humans were the limiting factors, or however many horses you could put in front of that wagon. So with the invention of the steam engine, we've gotten to new levels, new heights. And now, transport, connectivity, and connection were taken to yet another new level. And we've been able to combine technologies and advancements to remove constraints and connect us more throughout in society. Just like the railroad system in this nation crisscrossed around the nation and connected us, and in many other nations around the globe. And we're able to expand, and organizations have been able to expand beyond levels ever thought possible before. They were still, at that point, constrained by human presence. All of that changed with the dawn of the information age. Suddenly, you didn't need to hop on a train or get in a car to go somewhere and shake hands and make a deal. You could click a magical button to buy now, and days later, very short time later oftentimes, something would appear at your doorstep. And now, this made us so that you no longer needed to be there physically present to start a conversation, or oftentimes, even a relationship. Maybe most impactfully, you were no longer constrained to experts or physical locations for knowledge and learning. There, I come home one evening, and my wife sits in front of the dishwasher, holding her phone, playing a YouTube video, and proudly reassembling some valve that had killed the dishwasher before. And there, she was no plumber or certified GE dishwasher expert, but simply by watching a video, she was able to take apart this dishwasher and fix something that before then we were bound to long trainings or professionals, or in the worst case, having to buy a new dishwasher because we just couldn't fix this one, or nobody could fix this one. So it's in this extreme of technological advancement that we circle back to this guy, our little friend up here, and to the question whether AI is our friend or our foe. We've seen up to this point in history that humanity has the amazing ability to inherit and augment and adapt ourselves to new technologies. So let's focus first on some of the amazing advances we've done. Well, I probably can't see most of you. Let's ask, who in here has used AI last month? By raise of hands. Who has used it, let's say, last week? How about this weekend? And I could probably even dare to ask today, and would see a number of hands, and actually unanimous hands almost up there. Imagine if I'd given this talk 3 years ago. How many hands would I have seen then? AI now is our new coworker. It is our assistant in a personal or professional life. It is our grocery list builder, our sous chef, our revenue synthesizer, and master analyzer. We now have AI agents and systems that use technical means to imitate humans and human performance and cognitive functions to a level that has never been possible before. When we're looking at AI, a system built to replicate human functions, it also has strengths and weaknesses. And we're going to be talking about 5 traits that give us a sense of where does this all fit in. How does it belong together, and how does it affect our day-to-day? How does it affect our life, our business, across all different traits? So look at this chart, where in red we have our human capabilities, and in blue, our friendly AI capabilities. Both of them have strengths and weaknesses. And if you look at that chart, you won't see it as necessarily contradictory, but rather complementary. So it's our fundamental change that AI, while it will cause immense change and displacement, just like the wheel, the steam engine, and the internet did, they all caused huge amounts of disruptions in their different industries, in their areas, and beyond their industry in all businesses and areas of the world. But if you look back at that time, there have been new jobs created. A railway conductor, locomotive engineer, ticket puncher, and so many more. And if you had asked any of them what a software engineer would be doing 200-300 years later than this invention, they would have probably declared you pretty crazy, because it was beyond our wildest imagination what could be possible just some period of time later. And we're right now at that same point in time where what AI does and is capable of doing in the future might very well exceed our wildest imaginations. So let's look at where AI excels and where we excel. The first one, we'll look at task switching. And this is something where AI tremendously excels at. Humans, we suffer from fatigue, especially task switching fatigue, but fatigue in general, where after a certain period of time, we need to either get some sleep or just coffee and more coffee, but it will hit a limit where no amount of coffee is enough, and we'll just need to reboot and get some Z's and go to sleep. Whereas AI doesn't need that same reset. It keeps going, can switch between things. So let me symbolize that a little bit. If I give the task to all of you, try to count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 to 100. Or say the alphabet 3 times, A, B, C, D, E. Really easy, we're pretty good at that, can do that pretty fast. If I now ask you, try to combine them and switch between them and say 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, D4, we might mess up. We get a lot slower than that. Whereas I could ask AI, all right, do the same thing, say the first 100 prime numbers, and then connect that with today's weather for the past 100 years. And it will say so and execute that without missing a beat. because AI has that ability, and machines have the ability to quickly switch to a degree that we're simply not capable of as humans. But not all is lost for Team Humanity. We have an incredible skill when it comes to transfer learning. This is somewhere where AI needs massive amounts of data in order to acquire a new skill. You might hear them in the background, tiny creaking sounds. If I try to teach AI how to recognize a cat, it might need thousands or tens of thousands of images, and eventually it'll get to a pretty good confidence level of recognizing a cat. My son Creeching up there has probably seen like a handful of pictures of a cat, but by now can with pretty high confidence say, this is a cat. I open a book and say, where's the cat? And the cat can be in different little poses, and he'll point to the cat with very high confidence. So this is something where we transfer learnings, and not just in recognizing images, which is a really simple example, but we do this transfer learning from different lessons in life, and we take them often subconsciously from one to another, where we might learn something in one area and transfer it to another. We take it from stages in life to other stages in life, and we also take it from a personal to a professional life and vice versa. Now, some place where huge amounts of data come in very handy is data analysis. This is a place where humans struggle. When we are faced with analyzing data, say an inventory or report, sales data, or financial data, then we usually need to simplify that in order to wrap our heads around it. And we can look at most at, say, 2 to 3 variables and then draw our conclusions based on that. Where AI can look at hundreds or thousands or millions of data points in order to analyze and find what is the right decision. There's even a subset called unsupervised learning where you feed AI massive amounts of data and it's unlabeled. It will just figure it out by looking through that data and then make predictions and also come up with models and maps to figure out future predictions, which is an incredible tool. We also have something which, let's call it for now, compulsive lying. So how do you make cheese stick to the pizza? Obviously, by mixing an 1/8 ounce of non-toxic glue into the cheese, mix it good up real well, and stick it on the pizza. At least that's what very confidently one of the early versions of Google's AI answered. You can't check it anymore, they fixed it by now, but you can find the story. But it is something where AI's fundamental tenets of going forward and giving an answer is looking for giving an answer, not the answer. And there's a technical term for this, which most of you have likely heard and probably been annoyed by, and it's called hallucinations. And those are something that, while it's become better, are still plaguing AI. And oftentimes you might, if you know a little bit about what the answer is, you might say, no, that's not the answer. And it will say, yeah, you're right, that's not the answer. Here, I'll try again. And you're so smart for figuring it out. And it might compliment you even. But it will just say something to move on. So and that leads us to the final point, emotional and ethical intelligence. This is one, again, where Team Human scores really well. Emotional and ethical intelligence is something where we as humans have a truly unique ability of reading and analyzing so many things, be it just in conversation, where we will read body language, facial expressions, tone, history, context, all these aspects that are really hard for a machine to understand. They're sometimes even hard for us to understand when we dive into sarcasm, or at least for me as very literal German, where I'm still waiting for that friend that told me, see you later. Not used to that. We, even in this room, don't have a very uniform reference frame for ethics and culture, where if I surveyed the room on different aspects of right and wrong, I would get most likely very varying answers, because it is something that is just on a beautiful array of a wide variety of what is possible to be right and wrong. So having analyzed history and strengths and weaknesses Where does this bring us today? When we're looking at our org chart in an organization, in a business, and looking at our coworkers, and turning left and right, who's going to sit next to us in the future? Like you see in this one, there's some AI sitting there. This is something that's up to each one of us individually. As AI is a technology that will cause human work and productivity evolution. However, it will not happen unless done so by design. But the most successful individuals and organizations will analyze this critically and take back some of that information to their organization and to their coworkers and see, where can I inject AI so that we can use those strengths in their business, in their environment, to complement the humans around them, the human employees. I'm a firm believer that at least most human beings wake up in the morning wanting to do something meaningful during their day and wanting to get the most out of their day. Or at least on the contrary, I believe really strongly that most human beings don't wake up wanting to copy and paste data and enter a bunch of spreadsheets. So by design, this technology will elevate organizations to levels that we've never seen before. And if you need proof of this, just look at our history, where the pyramids have stood the test of time for thousands of years. We've built rockets that have orbited the planet and made it to the moon. And where Paralympic athletes have been empowered to compete and cross the finish line and be cheered. Technology is a tool that, when combined with humans, causes incredibly beautiful creation. And with that in mind, just imagine what the future will hold with AI.